I think the bigger proxy is Amazon, though. I mean, that is a fascinating story. I've never seen, the president goes after CNN a lot, you know what I'm saying? He generally did not go after AT&T or Time Warner specifically. We're kind of in uncharted territory where the president is attacking the business model.
But again, he opposed that and still opposes that merger on the basis, really, of CNN.
Probably.
Right?
I mean, yeah, that's what, but listen, I can tell you.
All about
I tell people inside the Trump sort of kitchen cabinet who were involved with discussions with Trump would tell you, yes, he had this animus against CNN, and that's a big part of this. And then he found his Justice Department antitrust division found a legal rationale to go after. By the way, I'm not saying the legal rationale is absurd. They make some strong points, but that's a whole other story. This AT&T, this Amazon thing is fascinating. If you saw, he went after him again, made a little news in that press conference where he said they're going to have to pay the post office more. What I don't understand, and maybe Ari can help us out with this, is what power does the president have over the post office? I think it's somewhat limited. Yeah. So, and I don't think
it's a slippery slope.
And did Amazon really rip off the post office? I think he's wrong on that.
Yeah, the president doesn't have direct price point control over the post office. They're an independent body. They'll set their own prices. But it's the power of jawboning. But what makes me uncomfortable in all of this is I'm a purist on these things. I think when it comes to matters of the market and specific businesses, I never liked it when Democrats criticize entire industries, when they criticize big oil, when they criticize everybody on Wall Street, when they go after by category. And I don't like it when you go after a company by specificity unless there's a case of actual immediate wrongdoing that is well and known, Enron, something along those lines. But in this case, I do think this is mostly about the Washington Post. And the president's doing what he always does. As a businessman, finding leverage through another vehicle to put pressure on somebody or something
Bezos had supported Donald Trump. Would any of this come up?
No.
Oh, I don't think so. I think if you're a supporter of Donald Trump, he loves you, and you're doing the right thing. If you don't, you're a loser.
Oh, all right. Because Boeing was in the same position for a while with this president. And now tight as you-know-what with this president.
Well, Boeing went to him and negotiated a price of Air Force One, didn't they? And I think that allowed the president to get some favorable press coverage. And what we know is if the president gets favorable press coverage as a result of something, everything's good. If the coverage is bad, he finds leverage to go after it.
He's also raised a very good point, so to pick up on what you said, is that it is not unusual for presidents to go after industries dating back to John F. Kennedy and the steel industry, or Barack Obama with bankers, or the cynical view of any Democrat with any industry that makes a lot of money. But it is quite unusual, to your point, to target one company.
It's really crazy. And, here's the thing, though. A lot of it is BS. I mean, it really is. Let's be real clear about downtowns of small town businesses. What really put them out of business? Well, guess what? All his buddies in the mall business. Walmart, that was the first disintermediation, the real disintermediation of downtown mom and shop businesses is not Amazon. This has been going on for a long time because malls take people away from the downtown. Ironically, what's happening now is downtowns in a lot of places there's a resurgence because people hate the experience of a mall. They'll buy all their garbage online and they'll have the high-end experience downtown, the butcher, the baker, you name it. I mean, that's what's going on right now.
Well, Charlie, was also the interstate highway system. And you could give a number of reasons. But for the president to target the decline of downtowns to Amazon.
It's just wrong.
Yeah, it's too much of a simplification. Now, look, e-commerce does have an impact, of course, on mortar and brick shops. But it's an overstatement.
Let me ask you a question. Who likes going to a mall? It's the worst shopping experience in the world. And
Have you ever gone to a Hickory Farms kiosk?
Yeah, I know, like Orange Julius. I know you spent a lot of time at the Orange Julius, but think about it. It's the worst shopping experience in the world.
Shopping is the worst experience in the world. You don't have to define where.
But
you know, there are a lot of people who love to shop.
But people love to shop in downtowns now. Sure. I mean, it's a different experience now. And here's the odd thing about this. He essentially, by attacking Amazon, he wants to raise everybody's taxes. Amazon has basically cut costs. I mean, it's a good thing for a consumer.
But hasn't Amazon also worked out paying taxes to state? That was a big problem in the beginning.
They pay taxes
we're required. Amazon now pays all state taxes.
But there are a lot of cities
that don't have to do it, and so they don't. And taxing the internet,
where the individual brick-and-mortar retailers of any size feel that Amazon
that they're getting a break.
But are you in the camp that says Amazon's created whole new businesses as a result that it more than made up for the loss of mom and pop businesses?
I'm in the camp that the government cannot fine-tune how economies grow and shrink, that you have to let these massive trends ebb and flow, and that the markets settle these matters more than the government is ever going to be able to settle these matters. What I don't understand, I haven't seen anybody run to ground yet, is the Postal Service issue about whether they're losing money or not. I have seen in a lot of studies
I'm told they're not
Trump
losing
said,
nearly as much now.
well, no, not as. I'm talking specifically about Amazon and their packaging.
I'm sorry.
Whether that is a subsidy to Amazon or not. And I've heard the president say it is a subsidy to Amazon. I've heard others, particularly fact checkers in the media, say it's not. But I wonder if those fact checkers are saying it because Trump said it was one thing, they immediately said it's another. I suspect it's more complicated.
The Journal had a very good op-ed today, which, and listen, I don't understand the intricacies of everything. By the way, their deal is proprietary, right? We can assume and surmise a few things about the deal, but a lot of their quote writing on the back of the taxpayers has to do with the mandates of how the post office has to work. That six-day delivery and things of that nature, make sure that certain packages get to rural areas. There's a lot of complication here. And by the way, the post office cut the deal with Amazon. I can't imagine Amazon extorted them at the time. It sounds somewhat contrived.
Well, there was the analogy that making a deal with Amazon in those days was like making a deal with the mob, and that you're better to do business than to be shoved out of business.
Well, you're the U.S. Post Office. You would think you have some leverage somewhere along the line.
I'm not sure U.S. Post Office negotiators are the best negotiators.
Well,
that is a legacy of when they were in the government.
They're probably not, but listen, they're presidential appointees, and they have Congress.
Yes, they all derive from government.
But we have to break up this conversation here. But I think you touched on something that's going to be significant here. The message is using the bully pulpit of the presidency to get it to pound a company. But is there any risk that you can overdo that? I mean, already we've wiped $20 billion off, the market value of a company now. Yeah. Don't cry for Amazon. Shareholders don't cry, certainly for Jeff Bezos. But that is a dangerous precedent setting here in one company. Because you don't like the guy.
You just put your finger on one of the key elements that makes Donald Trump who he is, and we'll see if it's successful or not. And that is he does use external leverage to try to get his way on things and creates tremendous volatility in the process. We're seeing it with China and tariffs. We're seeing it with the stock market recently. We're seeing it now with Amazon. The president's method here, though, is he believes he can get a good result as a result of saber rattling and going right up to the edge of the cliff. Now, politicians don't do that. No. Business people sometimes do. Trump's success in business, people would argue, has been because he's been willing to do these things. Can he do it as now a president? It's untested. We don't know yet.
He put a lot of businesses into bankruptcy. His success is really mixed as a businessman. He was good at marketing. And that's where that's what concerns me about all this stuff. I mean, where's Donald Trump's real, where's his sweet spot? His sweet spot is taking an issue, manipulating it, and pushing it out publicly. His sweet spot is not.
Did he care about all these small businesses? Seriously, did he care about all these small businesses, his casinos pushed away in Atlantic City and elsewhere?
You kidding me? Did he care about the contractors he stiffed and would only pay him half? I mean, I'm telling you, this is not. I mean, listen, this is all about him achieving one goal. And that's quashing the Washington Post because the business logic doesn't make a lot of sense.
He wants to make Amazon pay a price for its Washington Post coverage. And if the price is paying more for packages they ship, that's his goal.
Maybe if they just made him a Prime member, this would all go away. All right. Guys, thank you very, very much. You're the best. All right.